And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate lending and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for July 15th, 2020. Stocks are sharply higher this morning after Moderna stated coronavirus vaccine trial produced a robust immune response in all 45 patients in early stage of human trials. The next phase 3 of the test, will begin July 27th, where 30,000 people will be tested. So, again, the market is responding to this very positive news. Additionally, Goldman Sachs has blown out the quarter with an earnings of over $6, double the expected $3 share. Another good news, and the market is doing very well. Rates have had a dramatic move from the 2.5% coupon table to 2% table yesterday. This is a huge move so that we continue to see low rates for refinancing as well as home purchases. The MBA, or Mortgage Bankers Association, released their mortgage data. Overall application volume again up 5% over last week and 54% year over year. Refis are leading the way at 107% year over year. But again, buying is up. And so we're targeting so much opportunity out there for new homeowners getting out of the rent race, as well as folks that are trying to right size, downsize, move around. Great time for selling and buying homes. While many of us have received our stimulus check as direct deposits or checks, almost 4 million people will be getting their stimulus payment in a form of a prepaid debit card. The only problem is that debit card comes in an envelope with the statement Money Network Cardholder Services. And they are easily confused with credit card offers and other mails, and they're thrown out. So we want to make an announcement. If you know of someone in this situation, thrown away their debit card, they can call this number, 800-240-8100. Again, 800-240-8100. If you know of anybody that has not received their stimulus check and or debit card, that they may have thrown it away, they can call that number. Hey, today we are still answering questions. Keep the questions coming in. We are so excited about you guys letting us know what you want to learn about, what you want to talk about. And helping me today, of course, is my good old friend, Alan Pace with Fathom Realty. How you doing, Alan? Glad to have you here.
Doing good, Blair. That was a good introduction. That's a lot of stuff I think people don't know.
Well, I hope to keep people informed, staying up. I mean, I am overly excited about the 2% coupon table. And oh, by the way, how do you like my new readers? I am getting of the age that I have to, oh, you just got fuzzy, Alan. I have to maintain my look.
I'm back.
Well, I'm glad you're back. And hopefully Tom can join us soon. I know he, for our listeners, also understand Tom not only being an instructor at Champion School of Real Estate, but he's also the president of Capel ISD. And they are on the fast track of trying to open up and do as much as they can for their kids in that school district. So he is very busy. He's going to try to break away and come into the show. But we are still answering questions. It's amazing how many questions we're getting from listeners. So I'm really excited about this. And I'm going to start it off because Gary has a really good question about, should I buy or should I rent? I think you ought to approach that. Should I buy or should I rent? How would you respond to Gary?
Well, first off, Gary, I'd tell you that we need to call Blair Mr. Thomas now. It's that look. Oh, there's Blair. Oh, there's Mr. Thomas. Blair. Well, I tell you what, buy versus rent is a great question because the majority of people that own a home rented a home or rented an apartment before they did that. So on average, we come out of wherever we come out of, high school, college, the military, whatever, and we need to live somewhere. So generally, most people rent to start out. And so as you grow in your new job, your new family or whatever, need more space, then you look at buying. So the answer is whenever you're ready. the key here is to understand what the difference is and what makes a difference to you and your family as far as how much money you make and how you spend your money and what do you expect to get back from the money that you put into housing. So every family is different. Some people choose to rent, and some people don't have a choice because they don't have credit to buy, but they can rent and still raise a family and do all the good things you need to do. But the majority of folks at some point in their life want to buy, and it's because of a couple of things. One, you own it. It's yours. You're not paying a landlord. You're not giving your money to somebody else to watch their finances grow. You're investing in your own family through equity. So, and there's other things involved, tax breaks, things like that. I'm not an accountant, but there's other good reasons that, owning versus renting is a good thing.
So, well, I would answer to Gary, as soon as you are able to invest in yourself, because a rent raise, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, you're making somebody else's investment profitable as your challenge, but also the rent raise as to be so costly. Prices go up. When is it a good time? When you can do it. I think anyone should at least investigate the opportunity to invest in themselves. And of course, building up dreams, building up equity, investing in yourself, I think is something that everyone should take. As David Tanner, one of our common listeners, thank you again for being here, David, talks about might as well be in your mortgage, be an investment into yourself as opposed to paying off someone else's dream. Great question, Gary. I hope that helps. Got a lender question here. Is a lender just a lender? And if not, what makes one lender company better than another? Wow, that's kind of broad brush. Every lender, there's brokers, there's lenders. The challenge here for understanding what lending does, first off, everyone must understand that your loan is sold. I want to go into that standard. If you're working within a normal standard loan profile, USDA, FHA, VA, or conventional, every one of those loans are sold to Ginnie, Freddie, VA, USDA. They're sold off to the secondary market. Now, the servicer is really the question you want to ask. There's some brokers, they don't service. They actually originate the loan, and then they sell off the servicing piece. They sell off the secondary market piece. You want to work with somebody at least so that you're not always having, and I'm sure, Alan, you can add a little insight to this, clients that they buy their home and then the very next month, oh, I got to make sure my check goes to someone else now. I got to make sure my check. I actually had one early in my career, a good friend of mine, a veteran, a colonel coming out. Actually, his home was sold 4 times. Bought it in December, January, another company, February, another company, March, another company. Finally, it got stabilized at Freedom Mortgage in April. That is a challenge that I think you want to understand who you're dealing with. So long term, what is the impact? If you just ask the simple question of asking about credit, or you ask about interest rate, you're not asking these other questions about differentiation. What do they do? If they're a broker and they sell your loan, guess what? Calling that same person back up, they won't be able to do anything for you. They've already sold it off. You want to deal with somebody that services the loan, originates the loan. You want to deal with companies that have underwriters in their firm. They're not outsourcing, going to a secondary market that has to be outsourced outside of their own firm to find out. That extends the processing period. There are so many things that make up a lending solution that is unique. Now, hard lenders, those are outside those standard parameters of USDA, FHA, VA, and conventional. That means we're actually having to go, let's say, bank statement loans. We're going to go to a third party to do that, and those interest rates are higher. You need to understand what are those definitions. So again, you want to deal with somebody that is going to educate you, not just do it, hey, I'm just shopping for interest rate. Okay, well, I can sit here and tell anybody, here's your interest rate at 2%. Now, what it takes to get to that point, your credit, 15-year or 30-year, you're going to buy down 2.5 basis points. There are so many things that come along with that. If you don't understand that, you're just looking at one aspect as interest rate. You're missing that picture. Does that make sense, Alan? Am I covering things?
Yeah, I think so. That was a really good question because realtors hear that all the time from clients. They're bombarded on television on lending. They're bombarded on the radio. They're driving their car on lenders. And then they talk to their realtor, and generally a realtor has a couple favorite lenders that they work with. So there's a lot to choose from out there. It's a free market, and people are confused, I think, about a lot of things. When your job is to, you're in IT or you build bulldozers all day long at Caterpillar, you're not supposed to know what lenders do and what realtors do and what Tom does with the, teaching real estate. So the thing you want to do is, this is about relationship, and it generally starts either with a lender that your family has used, your friends have used, or it starts with a realtor that you're working with that you trust. And if you trust that realtor, then they will guide you to the right lender. And things work out very well that way.
Well, I think one thing I would add to all of our conversation is, so often you can do a lot of things online and behind the scenes. You can actually be hiding behind the computer. Or do you want to have somebody you can call? A bank or somebody, they're only open from 9 to 5, let's say. But if you have a lender relationship, like you said, a lot of times your decisions and your availability is after hours, or you're needing help on a Saturday night to figure out what is the best offer or a transaction. You want to have that relationship so that you can reach out and touch that person at any time. You do not want to get stuck on just online and dealing with multiple varieties of people, and you have to say it, restate the story every time. You want to deal with one person, in my mind, consistently through the whole transaction. Again, you've stated it over and over, Alan. This is the largest purchase for 98.7% of Americans that they'll ever make. They want to understand it. They should understand it and trust that person that they're dealing with. So hopefully that helped out that. Great question. Keep them coming in. And on that matter, let's real quick, producer, please, let's put up our number, 877, and there it is, 337-5844. If you want to call in, text to us, or continue to email these questions to us, we can jump on those questions right now. David, Tanner, I see you online. If you have a question, post it up there. We'll jump right on it and get in discussion on it. Our next question's coming from Amy, and it's really a broad one here, based on real estate and so forth. But what is the best way to look for a home? Alan, I don't know how to answer that question. That's one of my stay in my lane things. But Amy wants to know, what is the best way to look for a home?
Well, there's a lot of ways to look for a home nowadays. The internet's monstrous. There's a lot of sites, but the best way to look for a home is, first off, you got to decide what kind of home you're looking for. You want to know what you're looking for. And then as far as actually looking for it, I would always suggest reach out to your realtor or a friend who might have a realtor, and start there at the very beginning with somebody who understands the best way to do this. So what realtors can do is, anybody can go on the Zillow sites and on the realtor.com sites and look at information that's there. Sometimes it's current, sometimes it's not up to date. Sometimes the property's under contract. It says it's not. So you have to be careful that way. So what a realtor will provide you with is your own portal, your own real estate portal, and homes in your whatever category you're in, price range, bedrooms, pool, no pool, etc., cities, school zones, all that stuff can be tailored just exactly to what you're looking for, or very close. And then basically the homes are sent to you on your email. And then every day you're updated with what's coming on the market or what changed in status. For instance, a home that is a favorite of yours might have went under option. Now it's under contract, and you're made aware of that right away. So it makes things much more efficient.
Well, can I break up this question for Amy a little bit? Let's take it from first-time home buyer and then seasoned home buyer. First-time home buyers, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they need to look for. They don't know anything. and the try and true method of trying something out and going, you can't drive a home for a week and figure out if you like it. How would you say it's different from a first-time home buyer view to somebody that, hey, I know what I want. I'm moving out of my second home. I'm moving into my third. This is going to be my family forever home till my kids are raised. This is what I'm looking for. They kind of already know that. Would you agree, or how would you help them out differently?
I'll tell you what, and you know me, everybody's different. And I've seen first-time home buyers that they got it down. They know exactly what they're looking for. Boom. And I've seen home buyers that have bought 3 homes and are now kind of experts in it and slaughter it. So, everybody's different. And as a realtor, your job is to understand your client. And you need patience, and you need understanding, and you need to know, exactly what they're looking for. And that's how you guide them. But in general, a first-time home buyer is really excited. I mean, the excitement levels through the roof. So
Sure.
You need to kind of get in there and kind of be the emotion detective. You want to keep, they have to have their emotions. It's their money. Everybody's emotional about money. Putting their kids in a home for the first time, it's very emotional. As a realtor, you need to keep understand that emotion, but yet keep the facts straight and precise. And it's a business, so
Sure.
It's a transaction. So there's that. A third-time home buyer, maybe that person you're deciding is, okay, this is where they want to raise their kids and then live there for a long time. Then it's a different set of questions in what their long term is going to be. Is it retirement, or is it just getting the kids out of school? And then they generally have a little bit different, in general, a different type loan. They're generally a little bit older and have some money put away, and thus either pay cash or have a different type loan. They also get into what you call the contingency situation, where to qualify, they have to sell the home they're in and use that money to buy the new home. So that's a little bit different as opposed to a first-time home buyer as well.
Sure. So hopefully that'll help you out. Victoria has an interesting question, and I guess this is a very 50,000-foot view. We can both get into this, but she asked, what are the steps in the buying process of a home? What are the steps? So can you give us the basic 6-7 steps that we see in a home process?
Yeah, well, the first step is to identify the home you want to buy. And we get there by doing the things that we had previously talked about, the home searches. So once the home search exposes the homes that you're interested in, we usually have people drive the area, make sure it's right for them. In other words, there's no...
Now, what do you mean by drive the area?
Well, what you want to do is be efficient. So you want a homeowner or a potential homeowner to go identify the homes they like online, and then you would like them to drive the area. Because what you don't want to do is schedule homes. You show up and there's a big water tank in the back, and they go, I don't want to live with a water tank. I can see it, that kind of thing. So so what we want is look at the homes online, identify what you like, then drive the area. And if it's right for you, send us those homes. Then the step is we set up the homes for showings. Then we identify the home that they want to make an offer on. And we go over situations like market analysis, comps. What's a good price to offer? At that point, we're reaching out to you for the pre-approval and making sure that we're within, what they can buy. The second step is make the offer. And we make the offer, and then a seller is involved, another agent.
What's involved in making an offer?
Well, you do a contract. There's a real estate contract, and we get that drawn up, and we go over that with the client, and then we submit it for signature. And once everything's signed, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure, absolutely.
You made your offer, but I hear so many times people doing additional things like writing letters on why they want to buy this home, or sending something else, or telling them a story about the family that is a part of it. Do you do a lot of that, or do you see a lot of that going on?
Yeah, I'm working one right now where a letter was written, and it makes a difference. But that's not necessarily a step. That's a different part of a step. So some people are into that and write very well, and they insist that they write a letter to go along with their offer. Maybe a couple of years ago, most realtors would agree with this. when it was a complete seller's market and there would be 10 offers on a house, you bet letters are being written. and they made a big difference. So everybody's, again, different. Some people are, this is strictly business. If my offer is not good enough, then it's not meant for me. Others are heartfelt. I want to write a letter. I want them to understand who my kids are and they want to go to this school. Or I'm a veteran. We're disabled veterans. And this VA loan is designed for us. And we have 3 children and blah, 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 that kind of thing. So that does happen frequently, yes. And especially in a seller's market where buyers are trying to compete against other buyers.
Okay.
So then another step would be, after you make the offer, is you have to plug in your laptop so you don't go dead during this conversation. There we go. So anyway, the next step would be to try to get the offer signed. Once an offer is signed, then you have what you call a contract. And once you have a contract, the next step is what they call an option period. It's generally 7 days. It can be longer, it can be shorter, but generally it's 7 days. And that is a time of which a buyer does their diligence. So part of the steps of looking at a home, obviously, are in there looking at it. We only see what we can see. We don't crawl around in the attic. We don't look at the ductwork. We don't look for electrical problems in a breaker box. We are looking to see if this house works for my family. So you get a 7-day option period, or whatever, how many days you agree to do your inspector in there. So an inspector comes in, does a complete inspection of the home, talks it over with the buyer, potential buyer, who is his client, and they decide on, here, I think you ought to have the AC looked at, or here, the roof is in bad shape. I would have a roofer come look at it. And obviously the clue report, which is a step in there. They will know if there's been a file recently on a roof claim. So that kind of thing. And then let's say we get through it. We get the repairs that we need done. We go into what you call pending. It's the next stage. And that's where Mr. Thomas, used to be Blair, gets really busy. And he does his magic with getting the money that you need to buy the house. So what goes on there? Appraisals happen. He gathers information for his underwriter. The processors get involved and make sure there's no surprises at the end so that you have a nice, clear, clean close. And that's what happens after pending. You do, after that, after the pending is done and Blair says you're good to go, we set up a time with title. Of course, the time is on the day of the closing period and the closing date, which is on the contract. So if we're going to close on the 10th, then we're going to be there on the 10th and we're going to get in there and close. And after it is
sign and sign and sign and sign.
If you're a buyer, you sign a lot. If you're a seller, you get out of there pretty quick.
Yeah.
A buyer can sign forever, and it depends on the kind of loan you're doing. So if you're paying cash, you don't really sign a lot, but you sign enough. But, VA, FHA has different signatures, conventional a little bit different. But in general, those are the steps. There's a few things in between, but every transaction's a little different. But those are the steps that every realtor goes through with a potential buyer.
And the biggest step being, we want to make sure funding takes place. That's when they take the transition of the home and they're able to go in. And so hopefully funding is quickly. It does not take a while to fund. That's why purchases are so primary in anybody's lending business. Purchases over refis take priority and getting done on time. And so hopefully that helps out. Now, we've got Mark who is asking a question, and it's kind of interesting. We kind of talked about it earlier. I just want to know my rate without all the documentation. Well,
that's me staying in my lane. You go get that
one. A lot of people are shopping rates and understanding how your rate that is best for you at this time. There's several things that come into play. Now, if you just want to know a rate analysis, you can call any lender and they can give you a quick rate analysis based on what you tell them. What is the loan to value? What is your debt to income ratio? What is your credit score? What are you looking for in what part of the country? All of these things come into play in rate. If you're just shopping rates, I will tell you anybody, especially online, can sit there and tell you right now, I can offer you 2%. Now, what does it take to get to that 2%? That's a 15-year, not a 30-year. That means your monthly payment is almost double what you possibly thought. Your also buy down points are maybe 2.5 points or 2 points, depending on all the other factors that I just spoke of, from loan to value, debt to income ratio, credit score, assets, reserves. All of these things come into play. If you just want to shop rate and know that, you can ask any lender and they're able to give you. Now, are they telling you the whole story? Are they giving you the full picture? And what happens if you finally come in, they assume you're a 780 credit score and you come in and you're really a 660. Well, that's probably a 1.5 different on rate that you will see, and you'll be very disappointed. But if you're looking purely for rate, those questions can be answered. I always try to and make sure everybody understands what builds that algorithm for why your rate is what your rate is. And things can change based on the credit score, based on LTV, based on several factors. But if you're just shopping rate, that is possible. Call me up. We'll scenario it very quickly. It takes probably 10, 15 minutes at the most, just asking questions and going with. But also understand rate changes every day. I'm seeing rates going up and down in a 8-hour period 4, 5, 6 times. So the bottom line of it is, if rate is your priority and that's your only priority, then be sure of what you're asking. The lender that you choose to work with, you should be explaining why all the costs are there, what's going on. So often I see what's called a loan estimate, and they never knew that they were buying down points. They just assumed that they were getting this rate because that was their offer by this lender, and they actually built in a buy down scenario. I don't want to have to pay that extra money, and you don't have to. So just be aware of that when you're looking for rates and you don't want to document, you don't want to do something, give somebody a call. That's the best way to do it, but be aware of all the underlying questions that will need to be asked.
And we'll just go back real quick to follow up with this. That's why it's so important to have somebody lending for you that you know and trust. Before COVID, and it will be again soon, because we're going to get out of this COVID thing, and we're going to get back to actually being people and meeting people and sitting across a desk from somebody. That will happen. And believe me, when you're making the biggest purchase of your life and borrowing that much money, you want to know what's going on with the money that you're borrowing. How am I paying it back? And just what am I paying for? And it's good to be able to, work with somebody local that understands the local market, and just sit across the desk from them and ask those tough questions. And I know we can do it online, and we can do it through, Zoom and all the other possibilities we have out there. But you want to know your lender. It's a big deal. It really is.
It is. You're exactly right. Exactly right. And we're sitting here at 12:30 again, going over questions our listeners have sent in to us. Feel free to contact us online. We're at KVGI Media on YouTube, as well as Facebook Live. You're with Welcome Home Radio, and right there, right on time, 877-335-5844.
337-5844.
Did I say it wrong? Golly, I hate. I'll go back.
There you go.
Hey, moving on. Okay, here's a real quick one from Janine, and I'm not sure it's quick, but why am I always told not to charge expensive items, furniture, cars, other things, or applying for credit cards while I'm in the real estate contract?
And before you answer this, because you're going to answer it.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yeah. I will tell you, every realtor watching this show, every realtor that's ever done one transaction, at least, you get these questions because, we talked a little bit about a first-time home buyer and a third-time home buyer. Well, the talk you have is with all of them. Everybody that's buying a home, you have this talk. If you're borrowing money, it's like, stay. Sit. So And then go ahead, Blair, and explain why that's important, because the last thing you want is to get into the closing and somebody bought a boat and now they can't close.
This is so, so true. I'm going to share it through a story. Had a wonderful young couple buying their first home. He's self-employed with his own business, lawn care business. So excited about getting their first starter home, raising their family of four that they've got as a total. Just so excited about it. As you said, Mama was in the office calling regularly, asking how things were going or what else do we need. She was very interactive. And of course, in COVID now, we're doing so much double checks. Literally, we have to check verification of employment the day that you're signing at closing. So if we get anything different, no, they're no longer employed, or they resigned, or something along that line can happen. That changes everything. Well, you can also impact things by adding the picture that we have at the start of the loan process. If it changes in any way, especially new lines of credit, that might blow up the debt to income ratio that we could not. Getting back to my story, wonderful young couple, love what they're doing. We told them over and over, don't do anything until you get home till we're closing. We're closing on a Monday. Lo and behold, we get there Monday morning. I'm at the title company. They're at the title company. We're waiting to sign, and I get a phone call. And of course, my underwriter, we received after a double check that I had to sit there on the phone with the client. And I asked him right face to face, I said, did you buy a truck? He says, yeah, I just got it Saturday morning. We decided to buy it for the company. And, I needed to upgrade. And of course, adding that liability into his loan put him over. So he had a new truck to drive with his company, but he didn't have a new home to park it at. And I will tell you, going out that door, that family leaving, she was saying things that I hadn't heard since I was in the military. And so frustrated, so upset that the deal could not go through because the last minute they did something to their credit. Why you're doing it, you don't do anything to change the picture until the underwriter and the closing and funding is done. Don't add any new debt, furniture debt, auto loan debt, anything, because if you're on a very tight budget, which so many people can be, it will throw everything out of whack and not be able to move forward. So I just challenge you, Janine, listen to what your realtor, listen to what your lender's saying. Do not go outside of normal purchases, being gas, consumables, food. Don't go crazy with the credit cards. Don't go crazy with changing your world. We're excited for you to get your new home. We want you to be living that dream, but the only way you're going to get there is do not change the picture that we have painted as a lender for the underwriter and for closing. Otherwise, that loan is not purchasable. Therefore, it's not going to be completed. Therefore, you will lose the opportunity to buy your home. Hopefully that helps. Anything I'll leave out, Alan?
No, I mean, it's that simple. I like the picture analysis. When you have a picture, don't touch it up.
There you go. Don't change it. Okay, Jimmy is asking a very good question, especially during this time. How long does it take to buy a home?
Jimmy's got good questions. I like the ones he asked. So the question is, how long does it take to buy a home? Again, it depends on everybody's situation. Some people have an immediate need, and it can be done quickly. How are you paying for it? That matters. Are you borrowing money? How are you borrowing money? And that matters. And then, of course, we have to find the right home. Sometimes that takes time. Another part of this equation is how many people are out trying to buy homes on the market. Is there a limited supply of homes available to buy? All that comes into play. Sometimes you make 2 or 3 offers and you don't get the house. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, we got one. And so, there's a lot goes into that. But when you get a home under contract, generally it takes an average of about 30 days.
30 days, and that's where I'm going to say, and I'm going to add into the equation. Right now, we have seen a huge uptick in applications. Mainly 67% of them are refinances. Therefore, underwriters, therefore, appraisers, therefore, title companies are literally swamped because they're utilized whether it's refis or purchases. Now, I can't speak for other lenders. I'm sure they have the same standards because people that own a home and are just refinancing aren't a priority over people that are buying the home, whether they're first time or they're making a new transaction. Then buying a home takes priority. So we have not missed, we're averaging 27 days in a purchase contract from contract to close on a purchase. Refinances, we go out 36 to 50, just due to the fact of the numbers, how many, what we're having to do with in the industry overall. I will tell you, appraisers are overwhelmed, title companies are overwhelmed. So that's from our vantage point, the financing side, we're seeing a 27-day average closing if we want to do a purchase. If it's refinances, 36 to 50. And again, if anything changes in those pictures, that sort of thing, we need to update and move forward. So hopefully that helps out, Jimmy. Hey, David, I appreciate it. Be like Jimmy. Is that anything like be like Mike? Okay, let's see here. Okay, I think I understand. This is Beth. Why does it take so long to get an appraisal, and who orders it? You want to approach that, or would you like me?
Well, I think we both are going to say probably the same thing, but so appraisals are only necessary when you're borrowing money.
Can I ask a question? Let me add to this question, I think, to Beth. What's the difference in inspection and appraisal, and then who orders each of those? So can we approach it that way?
Sure, we can. Okay, an inspection is ordered by a buyer to inspect a home that they're purchasing. Okay, the contract's executed. You're in what they call the option period, your diligence period. You hire an inspector. The inspector goes to the house and inspects the house. That is ordered by the buyer, paid for by the buyer. Okay, lender has nothing to do with that. Next up, we get through the option period and we have negotiated repairs based on the inspection, and we still want to buy the house. The seller still wants to sell us the house. Everything's good. Now we go into what they call pending. And Blair, I'll let you take it. Starting with pending, what does a lender do?
We automatically, of course, once it's approved by the buyer and the realtor that an inspection time is gone, we order the appraisal. Why do we not order the appraisal immediately? Well, two things. One, if you're going to do an inspection, which is not required by us, normally it's something that you want to do with your realtor partner. I don't want to take away any negotiating power. So I never order the appraisal before, because the seller already knows that they scheduled the time, the date, when they're going to be there. They've already know that they're moving forward. So negotiating through what you find in the inspection kind of changes. But we order that. Once that's pending done, the lender has to order it. I cannot order it myself. My company orders it through a management group, and that we cannot have any contact with. We are not there to say, hey, here's a contract. What used to happen up through 2008, you had a lot of people, hey, I need this loan to go through at $236,000, and the appraiser would make sure it was at $236,000. We cannot influence that pricing because it takes out all ambiguity that may take place. But as the lender, we order the appraisal, and the loan is based on the appraisal value. Now we can estimate what that might be, but until that appraisal comes in, and it could change a lot of things in the loan factors. It could be higher, which is a great thing. You're walking into the home with more equity than you thought. That's great. But the worst case scenario is it comes in short. And that's when you go back to the table with your partner realtor partner and say, okay, here we are. The appraisal value is short. We have several options. We can challenge the appraisal. we can do a second appraisal, or we can renegotiate the contract. The other two tend to extend the contract period. The one can help move things quickly. And if you're barely off by 500, 1,000, 1,500, a professional like Alan can negotiate that down very easily and make it happen. But if it's more than that, I tend to see things, we go through other options as well, depending on how bad.
And the other thing about appraisals that everybody needs to know is it's not an exact science. Appraisers are people, just like the rest of us. They get up, they have good days and bad days.
Yep.
They have different areas of the country. There's neighborhoods that were built in the 50s where you have a $95,000 home next to a house that got torn down and a new one got put up. It's worth $250,000.
That's in University Park, isn't it?
No, it's not. But there are areas like that, and so that's why it's so important as a seller to, to make sure your price is attainable. Okay, it has to appraise. If somebody's going to borrow the money, that has to appraise. So if you're asking $300,000 for a house that can't appraise more than $250,000, you're in trouble. Okay, so. But again, you need to know it's not an exact science. It's frustrating for everybody, lenders, realtors, buyers, and sellers. We've all been there when a appraisal has come in extremely low. It's difficult. And I've been on both ends of it as a seller and a buyer. But there's no exact science. And you just do your very best with the numbers that are given to you by the professionals. As far as challenging an appraisal, or, arguing about it or trying to get another one, it's very difficult sometimes.
Yes, it is.
They're so busy. They have a 28-page report stating why they did what they did. So why do you got to challenge this? I mean, look, there's 28 pages. I'm not wrong. Well, they might be wrong. And you need to know because you're representing your client. So the appraisals are, and in fact, we're going to be doing another show on appraisals, and we're going to have our appraiser back in here. We didn't have a good connection with her last time, but we're going to get her in on a computer, and that'll be a show to watch, because if you're a lender, a realtor, a buyer, a seller, anybody, I think we all learned something that day, even when we couldn't hear her very well. So I can't wait to have her back on. So, but that's a good question. Appraisals are tough, and good time to end it, because look who's here.
Hey, we got to say goodbye.
No, you don't. You got like 5-10 more minutes here. Jeez Louise.
Abe Lincoln and his cousin Tom.
It is. I brought a picture of my uncle, Uncle Lincoln. He's here.
He's
Yeah,
on fire.
I love that. I love that conversation about the appraiser stuff. I thought that's, it's so important for us to understand just, how the complexity of this market are leading us to different challenges that we haven't seen ever. I've heard people, we are seeing that the technology has been there, but it's still, the upgrades in the industry have to keep being pushed and pushed and pushed to make it better and better. Because, and I know Blair's for sure experiencing this, but you just don't see clients anymore at all. You don't see them at closing. You don't see them anywhere.
They don't.
By the way, Tom, it's not Blair anymore. It's Mr. Thomas. Take a good look.
Oh, gosh. Look, he shaved. Did he shave? What
Shaved.
is that?
Shaved. Let's see how long it takes Tom to figure it all out.
That what? He's wearing glasses?
Oh yeah, that's Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas. It's definitely added a weird appeal. Yes. Chewing on the end of the glass. All right,
I'm champion of real estate material.
Well,
next
thing you'll be doing is wearing a jacket, a tweed jacket with what? Leather pads on the elbows.
Yeah.
I know you.
Dr. Thomas then.
Oh,
I think David needs to be like Mr. Thomas down there.
Hey Tom, great to see you. How things have been going with, real quick, update our
Well,
and about Capel and what's going on there with school districts.
Well, this is something that is just turns our stomachs. We had a board meeting on Monday. This applies. Let me say this. This applies with, the 90%, actually 95% of the school districts were trying to do and get people back into school the same way. And the TEA and the state just are like a moving target. It's the slipperiest eel we've ever dealt with in our entire life. And somebody's going to have the guts to say, you got to do it and you can do it this way. And this makes sense. That's the most safe for our kids. But our biggest challenge is for our instructional people, our teachers. A lot of teachers are older, and we've had people that are 20 years in the business, 25, some of our best educators, and they have a legitimate fear as to being able to navigate and come into a situation. We do understand kids probably are more resilient with this, and statistically speaking, but that doesn't stop them or preclude them from being carriers of the COVID situation. And without a doubt, what surrounding school districts and ourselves are been mandated to do, we have to have 5 days of live instruction. In other words, we have to make available to the public 5 days. Now, I say that in deference to, and I believe we're going to hear, so I don't want to be a rumor monger, but I'm saying this with the total caveat, it's not confirmed, but it would look like we're going to see a delay in being able to get back to school and use remote learning like we did at the springtime. Now, some of us, and I'm blessed with a school district that is a one-on-one school district, everybody has the capacity to do that with their iPads and that type of unit. There are districts out there that are not as blessed as mine, and that creates inequity in the system and challenges for educators throughout. But the mandate was that everybody returned to work August 5th, and we're beginning to see TEA and the governor finally say that may not be safe.
Hey, Blair, if you think about it, of all the people in the United States of America that are having a hard time with the COVID thing, it's everybody involved in school and teaching. And that's due to all the misinformation, but we've gotten so many messages from the get-go. What's safe, what's not safe, and you can do this and you can't do that. And I don't think there's been one expert that's really been able to nail this thing down. And I don't know how you handle school systems with so much stuff out there like that.
I mean, we know mass work. We know that. I mean,
that's all we know. That's what we know right now.
That's really all we know. But
right.
we know on a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 8-year-old, how does that look? I mean, can that happen? A kid goes and reaches up. I had some other parent the other day say, yeah, they reach up and pick their booger. Are they going to put that mask back up? No, it's down here now. So, I mean, and now
then there's all the people that think if you're under a certain age, you don't even need a mask.
Well,
there you go.
I know.
And schools have to deal with it. I mean,
okay, Mr. Thomas.
But that's the update.
Mr. Thomas appreciates that great update, but that didn't cover. Blair's asking the question, where's my football?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to tell you that, my team, Harvard, is not playing this year. So,
yes.
Yale and Harvard, Cornell, Dartmouth, all 8 of my teams.
That's not real football anyway.
That was real football. That's the best football. They play in some of the oldest stadiums in the United States.
Football. Come on.
Okay, let's all start singing Stairway to Heaven. Let's go.
Oh, look at him.
By the way, quick message to all you realtors. Any realtor listening, come join me. Keep your commission. Come.
Oh, way cool. And come and get in my classes.
No NFL football at all. I agree, but I definitely want my college football back.
I miss college sports a lot more than I miss the professional. I can't tell you how much I haven't missed a lot of the sports on television. I mean, one, you're watching less television, which I think is a good thing, and reading more again. But two, my life hasn't changed one bit missing any of the NBA or the, I mean, hockey I miss a little bit, but
I finally finished my book.
there you go.
Man, it's like what, 1,300 pages, something.
Well, have you finished Pride and Prejudice yet?
No, they made me do that in high school. No, I haven't done that again.
Well, here's the book.
There's the book.
There is.
Man, I got to get the book.
Yeah, it's good for everybody. Soul.
I love it.
I have the book, but I continue to read and learn so much from it.
Well, that is one thing that I do feel is kind of a blessing that my family and I are having a chance to really, do things and say things and, have that time together that's something beyond what I would have ever expected. So
Absolutely.
Out of bad does come good, and it's something that I feel such a blessing in my life. And I've got to meet a lot of great people actually through this venue, which is weird. My class size today, 210 people.
Wow.
And there are a lot of realtors out there, Alan, that there are a lot of rookie babies that would love to join you, man.
Are you promoting Welcome Home Radio and getting them to listen in?
I am promoting Welcome Home Radio.
Here's the answer for all you new people. Come on. Right there it is.
What does he do that like every 4 minutes now?
No, I do it because Blair has glasses. I'm not sure he can see it.
Oh, that's right. We'll just tell him, hey, Blair, wake up.
Can you see me?
What are you teaching right now? What was you teaching with 210 people in there?
Finance.
What was the course?
Finance.
Oh, excellent.
And tonight I have 211 contracts.
Wow. Awesome.
Contracts.
Yeah.
Champion School of Real Estate continues to burn the midnight oil.
We're knocking it out of the park, which is nice. We're really the only online live campus that all I do is talk all day long. Men are supposed to use like 25,000 words and women use 40,000 words. By the time I get finished, I can't even mumble to my wife. I'm like, whoa, whoa.
You actually,
by the way, I didn't say that. I did not just say that.
I can't get a word in edgewise with my wife.
Oh, I didn't say that either. I didn't say that. I love everybody. We're all the same.
Hey, Alan, is it time for you to put your tag up again? Man.
Well, all you wonderful listeners out there, please keep the questions coming. You can call us again, 877-337-5844. And you can either text us or email us, contact us. I am so thrilled. I am Mr. Blair Thomas now.
Oh.
And I'm Alan Pace.
And you can call me Professor Tom Holm if you want. But
if you want.
Call me
Tom.
Ground control to Major Tom. I love that.
Great having everybody here. We'll see you next week. God bless.
See ya.